Tom Brady becoming a part owner of the Las Vegas Raiders, and their current quarterback, who Tom Brady knows pretty well, Jimmy Garoppolo, already injured and not available for OTAs. And what about quarterback rankings in the entire NFL, 1 through 32? Pro Football Focus rates them. Did they get them right? On today's episode of Peacock and Williamson.
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look into the NFL on the field and in the front office. With elite breakdowns, next-level analysis, and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks everybody for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Shout out to the everydayers. We appreciate you. If you're not an everydayer, make sure you're subscribed up to the new Peacock and Williamson YouTube channel. Hit the thumbs up button, hit the notification bell so you know when we're live, so you know when we're doing a new podcast, when a new one drops. And you can also find us not only on YouTube, but everywhere you get your podcasts. So, Matt, let's start with this Jimmy Garoppolo story is really interesting because I don't know if you remember back in March when Jimmy Garoppolo signed with the Las Vegas Raiders. He was supposed to have a press conference that was, announcing him as signed and, meeting the media and everything with the Las Vegas media. And then all of a sudden the press conference got postponed. It was really weird. It's like, oh, something's going on with his physical or whatever, because he just got in, had a physical, routine and go talk to the media. Turns out there was a problem with the physical, and that Jimmy Garoppolo, shortly after signing, had foot surgery, which is an injury that, there's a long list of injuries for Jimmy Garoppolo, something that we didn't know he had. I'm covering the San Francisco 49ers. There was talk that he might have been even healthy enough to play in the Super Bowl. So I don't know if sitting and watching that NFC Championship game, he got hurt along with the rest of the 49ers quarterbacks or what. But Jimmy Garoppolo not cleared for OTAs, so still up in the air when Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be healthy and ready to go for his new squad. And then, Matt, when you sort of look at that through the lens of the new part owner of the Las Vegas Raiders, who happens to be a pretty well-known quarterback himself.
Might have heard of him.
By the way, has played more recently than Jimmy Garoppolo has in the NFL. Tom Brady. Could we see owner/player for the first time in NFL history with Tom Brady if this lingers with Jimmy Garoppolo? This is fascinating to me, and there's multiple angles with the whole Brady ownership.
There are. So I just pulled up Jimmy's lifetime stats, just to see games played and whatnot. So those 3 years with New England, he appeared in 17 games, but his new boss was obviously there, and that we know why he was not a regular for the Patriots. And as I'm sure you know well, but people might forget, in 2017 he gets traded to the Niners, plays I think the last 6 games, lights the world on fire. I mean, he tore it up in those last 6 games. Wow, they got a steal. Then after that with San Francisco, as I know you know, BP, but his second season there, 3 games. The next one he plays all 16. Great. Next one, 6. 2021, 15 games. Last year, 11. So that aside, which I just want to make everyone aware of, he's pretty much a part-time player. I mean, 74 career games, and 17 of them were before going to the Niners. I think Derek Carr's the better player. I can understand switching up the culture with the Raiders, but even if you think Jimmy's better than Carr, it's not by leaps and bounds. They're all kind of in the same tier. And you bought damaged goods, and you shipped out Carr, didn't get anything in return for him. Is this just Patriot mistake after Patriot mistake, just trying to be Belichick, trying to be Brady? And that's not even talking about the Brady ownership thing, which I don't think is a mistake, but we've seen this since Belichick became a star, that everyone tries to mimic what went on in New England, and no one's done it well.
I don't think it's a mistake at all. And I wonder if Las Vegas and bringing in Tom Brady with the ownership thing really quick is something more about bringing in sponsors and just bringing because, he's not Tom Brady has some pretty deep pockets compared to you and I and most people, but as far as NFL owners, he still does not, and
Right.
Mark Davis and the Davis family doesn't either. And, there's always a cash flow difference between a team like the Raiders and some other teams in the NFL. So maybe they're trying to improve that cash flow. And also Tom Brady, it's a no-brainer for him because I'm sure he's getting a bargain of a percentage here and not needing to bring those billions of dollars in to have a chunk of that team and have a chunk of ownership of an NFL franchise. So kind of a sweetheart.
And it's an investment that never loses money.
Oh, no doubt.
It never loses money.
And really, I don't even know how much money, I don't know the details of it, but it might not be money at all. It might be like he's giving them kind of, so no brainer. And, it doesn't stop him from doing other things. We'll talk about the broadcasting angle in a second. But as it pertains to Jimmy Garoppolo, and so obviously Tom Brady was playing in front of Jimmy Garoppolo in New England. Brady got hurt. Garoppolo came in, started a couple games, looked really good. Then he got hurt after 2 games, and then Jacoby Brissett came in, right? And then eventually, trade deadline 2017, Garoppolo gets traded to the 49ers. The Niners were awful, worst team in the league, couldn't win a game. And all of a sudden, they rattle off 5 wins in a row. It was like, oh my God, because this still wasn't a good roster. He was throwing to nobodies. And it was like, wow, this is what it looks like. It's that easy.
Yeah.
Just walks in, like, this is how you play quarterback. Look, not open, throw it to him. It was simple. It's like, oh my God. But then, Garoppolo never got better from that. The more, because you're supposed to get better under Kyle Shanahan and see this growth. Never saw that growth. Whenever he was healthy for a full season, the 49ers did big things. In 2019, went to the Super Bowl. 2021, played almost every game. They're in the NFC Championship game, and he wasn't driving the trailer, but he plays efficient, good NFL quarterback, makes some mistakes, perfect. But he's he's in that car tier. Now, did the Raiders get potentially worse because he's going to be unavailable? Did they get a little bit better? I do have a feeling that just playing a little freer and just the style of offense that Josh McDaniels, that McDaniels scheme, I think might fit Garoppolo better. And who knows, maybe even better than Kyle Shanahan's scheme did for him. So just thinking about how it went with Garoppolo, and he didn't get better than the really dumbed down version of the offense to start that actually was kind of based more on the Patriots style, because Kyle Shanahan was trying to make things easier for Garoppolo's transition to the 49ers. Maybe there's something to that. And maybe he is better in that system than Derek Carr. But from the outside looking in, maybe it was a lateral move. Like, it's hard to say that it was going to be a lot better, even if it is a little bit better. So really questionable with that whole thing. And now you have the injuries on top of it with Jimmy Garoppolo and the Raiders. So I really don't know what to think about it. And they clearly weren't worried about what was going on behind Garoppolo. They drafted a quarterback, right? But it was what?
I just looked this up, so I wanted to ask you about this too. Like, do you know who the backup is? I didn't off the top of my head. And the draft pick.
I do know they signed Brian Hoyer. Speaking of
course, they signed Brian Hoyer.
It's not even a good number 2 these days in the NFL. It's surprising he's still hanging around. And then they draft. Who did they draft? I'm blanking on
Aiden O'Connell from Purdue. I had to double check too. I knew it was a 4th round pick, but I couldn't remember which one of the ones.
Maybe Aiden O'Connell is the next Tom Brady. Overlooked in the draft process.
Maybe.
But from what I saw of Aiden O'Connell, doesn't get in the my blood pumping. So, really questionable, and we'll see what it looks like here. But everything Patriot way outside of New England hasn't worked great, right?
No.
So maybe Brady can help that along, but we'll see what that Belichick tree. I think Vrabel's been the most successful, and not a lot of success outside of that.
No, so I guess you could look at it this way too, with now Brady being involved. Everything outside of New England Belichick tree hasn't worked. But everything Brady's done has worked. So I do have faith that he can help any organization in any way. I laughed to myself, though, because while you were talking, I went to Our Lads just to see who the backup is. And, of course, it's Brian Hoyer, who's one of like 3 or 4 players. I'm so old. This is that I actually recruited, tried to get him to go to Pitt. We took Flacco instead. That's if you're on that list of guys I watched in high school, you're done. And you were never that good to begin with. And you've been great because you're a Patriot. And even the O'Connell pick was weird to me, just because I thought they would either go all in on quarterback, trade up for Richardson or even Levis or whatever, or it's next year's project. But kind of just splitting the difference with a 4th rounder. I'm not sure. You're just kind of spinning your wheels a little bit. I don't know. The whole thing's odd to me.
I got one more thought on the current / future quarterback of the Las Vegas Raiders. And I think we have to talk about Tom Brady's broadcasting career. And if there is a conflict of
Yes.
interest with him being an part owner of a team and also being a broadcaster of NFL games next. Thanks, everybody, for making Peacock and Williamson your first listen every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Today's episode brought to you by Built Bar. If you're looking for that high protein, low calorie, low sugar treat, and I know you are, Built is the place to go. Tons of new flavors all the time. I don't know how they do it, but just fantastic. In fact, this is going to be my lunch today.
Nice.
Skip breakfast. Got the peanut butter bar, which is my favorite. I fully recommend the peanut butter bar. We're talking 17 grams of protein, only 140 calories in the peanut butter bar, 130 calories in the new very vanilla flavor bar. They've got the peanut butter puffs, the very vanilla puffs as well. If you like, the puffs are a marshmallowy sort of a protein bar. And if you might like the puff better, coconut brownie chunk puff. I prefer the original, the OG Built bars, but you can find both at built.com. If you're not sure what flavor you want, and the flavors are unbelievable, you can get a mixed box of Built bars. You can also find Built bars on your local store shelves as well, including Walmart and Sam's Club. So it's all about the macros, low in sugar, only 130 calories in most Built bars, 17 grams of protein, only 4 or 5 grams of sugar. It's low in net carbs. That is what you're looking for in a snack. So get rid of all the bad for you snacks and get yourself a box of Built bars at built.com. Okay, so is this a soft tank by the Raiders where they're like, look, okay, we're gonna divorce from Derek Carr. We're gonna bring in somebody who knows the system and someone that might work well. And if it doesn't work, it's not a big deal because guess what? There's a couple of really good quarterbacks in the draft next year, and we will not be sad if Jimmy Garoppolo only plays half the games because he's hurt, and we're able to install an offense for, I don't know, Drake May,
right,
starting in 2024. So that's sort of, and obviously, the next state over, there's a pretty good quarterback prospect as well. It's probably going to go number 1 overall. Maybe it's a soft tank going on in Las Vegas, Matt.
See, I sort of think so, to be honest with you, in that I think we have to go back a year when we talk about this team. And I think both of us were very critical this time last year. Because I think the Raiders looked at everyone's talking about the AFC West. Oh my God, that's the best division I've ever seen. And the Raiders had to have a come to Jesus moment where they sat there when last year ended and said, should we dump Carr and our stars and regroup while the rest of this division skyrockets? Russell Wilson's on his way in. What are we going to do? Herbert and Mahomes are going to be stars. Or in Vegas fashion, should we push all our chips in the middle and, hope it comes up black, or whatever? And I think they made the wrong choice then, and they're paying for it now, is they decided to trade for Devontae Adams and first-round picks going out the door as opposed to drafting youth and whatnot. And now I think they realized, boy, that wasn't smart. And there's so many sharks in the AFC. That's my real point here is I think they're Texan Titan level in the AFC. If we were power ranking the AFC, I would put the Colts ahead of them. I mean, I'd put the Steelers, the Browns, the Patriots. I mean, they're 13th or 14th in the AFC with Jimmy trying their best to win.
By the way, Las Vegas with newly single Tom Brady and Jimmy Garoppolo, who's already
look out,
who's already been offered free bunny ranch for life in Las Vegas. After he signed, that would be an interesting night out to tag along with.
Yeah, that could be a fun. I mean, it's certainly the town everyone's going to see away games and all that, and maybe they can get the young quarterback next year. But I don't know. I think it's a tank job. I mean, I think it's somewhat of a version of a tank job because I don't think they're a very talented football team.
I don't think it's necessarily a tank, and
it's a harsh word.
What I would say is maybe not enough of a tank. Because you got to be worse than like the Cardinals right now, and that's right. The Raiders maybe are too good to get the top 2 pick that they need, and if they end up with the 7th pick again, they'll be like, okay, well, if you're lucky, a team wants to move out, and you have to spend 3 more first-round picks to go up and get a guy. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see what it ends up looking like with the Raiders. A lot of things can change.
It's a hairy
in
situation,
the
though.
NFL, but clearly you can't pick the Raiders to be a team that's going to top the AFC West.
No. I mean, I think they're an easy 4th in the West and late down in the AFC. But you're right. That's probably not bad enough to get in the top 2 or 3.
Should Tom Brady, as part owner of the Las Vegas Raiders, be allowed to broadcast NFL games and specifically Raiders games, Matt?
Yeah, I heard this on Mike Sando, friend of the podcast, and he brought it up, and they were talking back and forth like, there's no way I'm letting Brady in my facility if he's a partial owner of the Raiders to scout teams. I mean, especially if they're on the Raiders schedule at any point, let alone maybe next week or whatever. Frankly, I stole this from you because we said it before we went on the hit record. I don't care who records, or, Aikman can love the Dallas Cowboys to no end. Maybe he's a little partial in the booth or whatever, but who cares during the game what you're broadcasting? You're going to do your job. But there's no way on planet Earth am I letting maybe the best reader of defenses in the history of the world into my practice. And with all respect to Al Davis and his son, they've been a little shady over the last 50 years. The Patriots have been known to steal a signal or two over their time when Brady was there. Like, there's no chance I'm letting a partial owner with his knowledge anywhere near my building. No chance.
I don't know if this puts an end to Brady's broadcast career, and I know that's been something he put on the back burner anyway. So maybe this is just him saying, "Yeah, that's not the direction I'm going to go. I've got bigger things. I want to be an owner. I don't want to be a broadcaster." So we'll see what that ends up looking like. And maybe it's just a studio job where he's breaking things down and he's broadcasting, not necessarily the guy that's in the in the facilities, because nobody gets better access to secrets for NFL teams than those broadcasters, those national broadcasters. They get to interview coaches. They're seeing parts of practice that other media and other people can't see. And you'll hear a game. You'll be watching a game and you'll hear the broadcaster say something like, "Oh yeah, I saw them running this in practice and they were telling me about how this is going to work." You're like, "Oh really? You knew this the whole time?" And finally you get to say it because they used it on the field, right? And it's pretty wild, the access. And yeah, you can't let someone like Tom Brady have that sort of access. And, you could believe that he's not going to spill the beans, but, there's
I don't believe that
he would, right?
So do you think player owner is off the table? I don't think it's off.
I think it's more likely. I think it's more likely that he's player owner in 2023 than that he would be allowed to go into other teams' buildings and be a broadcaster.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
And not to mention, like, I always bring it back to Pittsburgh, but my favorite athlete ever, Mario Lemieux, bought the Penguins owed him tons of money and they were in dire straits. And they gave him and his ownership group, he became the owner of the Pens and went back to playing as a player owner. And he was not quite the same, but he was a stud and he's one of the best players ever and more than held his own out there. But, oh, by the way, that sure helps sell tickets and, drum up revenue. And, you're scratching 2 itches there,
Here's the other thing. So in a salary cap league, if Tom Brady is part owner, but then plays for the minimum salary, is that circumventing the salary cap?
I was wondering that too. Like, I think he's a truly free agent. Like, I don't think the Bucks have any more rights to him.
No, he's a free agent.
But how do you pay him? Like, is he I'm going to play for $1 a game.
Well, so he could take league minimum, but clearly he wouldn't have taken league minimum if he wasn't the owner. So there's a conflict.
Of course,
there as well.
Right. Yeah, the whole thing's hairy.
A lot of questions.
I think there's a lot more to unveil here. I'm just glad we brought it up now because
I
think it's going to come up more and more, especially as Jimmy doesn't get healthy.
We'll see. Las Vegas Raiders. That will be a fascinating one in the 2023 season. Let's see if Jimmy gets healthy and what this team looks like on the field. Matt, what about the best quarterbacks in the NFL? How would you rank them? How would I rank them? Well, we know how Pro Football Focus ranked them. Let's dive into their list next and either tear it apart or maybe agree quite a bit with how the top 32 starting quarterbacks are ranked in the NFL going into 2023 next. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Thanks so much for making Peacock and Williamson your first listen every day. Make sure you're subscribed up on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcasts, and check out everything else the network has to offer. Locked On NFL Draft, Locked On NFL, Locked On NFL Scouting, and of course, your team is covered every day right here, no matter the sport. on the Locked On Podcast Network. So this is Pro Football Focus's rankings by Sam Monson. So one of the reasons I like to go to PFF rankings when it comes to these types of things is it's not just a talking head giving their opinion.
Right.
And it is that, but it's also that, but based on grades and based on, statistical analysis. So there's just another level to it. And whether it's right or not, I don't know, but there's at least a little bit more research behind it. And, just an army of people researching things. And I've worked at PFF before, and I've been an analyst, and it's amazing how many people it takes to break down just one game. And I'm, I was spending hours and hours on one game just charting all of the routes for both teams' offenses, right? And then
by the way, we should do a show on that, like in July, like what your life was like there, or charting a game, like, because I'm interested, and I bet our listeners are too.
Yeah, there's the first thing you have to do to earn your stripes is called player participation, and it's the worst job there. And all it is saying who's on the field for every single snap, and it is hard, and where exactly they're lined up. And obviously
it's hard if you're in the press box,
dude. Teams are trying hard to make it hard on the other team to know where
right.
It's like, is this 4-eye? Is this 5 technique? What number is that? You got to remember. Okay, the number 42. I can't really see his jersey from this angle, but I know he's got a wristband on his left elbow, long sleeve on the right side, black cleats, white socks. It's like that kind of thing, and you got to take notes about which guy is which and where they're lined up. It's wild how much work goes into the PFF stuff. So I really appreciate it. Some people get mad. I didn't like the grade, but there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, we should do a whole show. I want to hear all about it sometime whenever there's not much going on in the league.
Best quarterback in the league is Patrick Mahomes, Matt. And I will fight someone that says it's not.
Yeah,
so, that's right.
I think he's the best quarterback I've ever seen. And I thought he played better last year than at any point and reinvented himself. So I'll fight anyone that wants to fight on that. No, not even close.
It's Brady in Montana for me. And Patrick Mahomes is on the path to surpass both of them.
I hear you.
Crazy to say.
So real quick, I want to throw this out there too, because I do plan on doing my list. And I remember last year, I couldn't get enough in the top 10. Like Lamar barely made it. Deshaun Watson barely made it. Russell Wilson, Stafford, they were all fighting. There was like 12 guys fighting for 10 spots. It's not like that now. I feel like there's like 6 that everyone in the world would have in the top 10. And then it's, not so great. I mean, the Bradys are gone. Stafford's not the same. Wilson's not the same. The old guys got old.
If we're just trying to pick a quarterback for this year, I mean, Mahomes is 1. Not surprised. On everybody's list, it's pretty much Josh Allen, number 2. And then on this list, Joe Burrow 3, Justin Herbert 4, Aaron Rodgers 5, Lamar Jackson 6. And I think that's kind of like the tier there. And there's some other young quarterbacks that you can project to be better, but that's kind of like, I think, the standard tier for the top 6 guys. But it's hard for me within that tier to rank how I feel about him, because there's some projection with Herbert still, and he didn't have really things going for him last year with the offensive coordinator and injuries around him and injuries on himself.
His injuries were significant.
Week 2, the rib injury, or the rib cartilage or whatever it was, and he wasn't right for half the season. So that's a tough one. And there's still a lot of projection there, but he's got to be long. And then Rodgers is on the other side, new spot, but he's a season removed from back-to-back MVPs. So that's where things get tough for me. And it's hard to fight where the rankings are after really it goes Mahomes, Allen on most people's lists.
See, I kind of look at a little different at the top there. As Mahomes stands alone. And I think Burrow versus Allen is a conversation for 2. And the other one would be the immediate 3. I would slightly put Allen over Burrow, but I thought Burrow had a better year. And speaking of injuries, remember Allen's elbow? We thought it might, sideline him the rest of the year. He wasn't quite the same after that, so Burrow had a little bit better circumstances, but it gets tough for me of who would be my 4. I think it is Herbert. I think Rodgers would be a little lower for me. But there's not a lot of names banging to go past him right now. Lamar.
This way. Like, so Rodgers didn't have a great year last year, but neither did Herbert.
No.
And so
no, right.
When has Herbert, this is my question. When has Herbert ever been better than Aaron Rodgers? So that's why I'd put Rodgers.
I hear you.
Like, maybe it's this year. Maybe this is the year he passes him. But Aaron Rodgers has a lot going for him here, and maybe a little chip on his shoulder right now. So we'll
Mm-hmm.
see. A fascinating season for both those quarterbacks, and they could go in any direction, I think. But I would probably put Rodgers as the number one, because we're just talking this year. I'll put Rodgers at the top of that tier. If you want to put
Okay.
Allen and Burrow in their own tier after Mahomes and his own tier, that's fine. I totally agree with that. I'm not going to fight you there. I might go Rodgers, then Jackson, then Herbert, because I want to see it from Herbert still, even though I'm a believer.
So to my original point, I think I would also have Lamar 6, but last year he was like 10 or 11 for me, and he did nothing to improve his stock. It's just those around him fell off. You know what I mean?
When do Trevor Lawrence and Jalen Hurts jump into that tier, or are they already there for you? Because Hurts, then Lawrence are 7 and 8 on this list.
No, I think it's interesting. The first 6 are all AFC guys now. And I bet a lot of people are like, Hurts should be in competition for 3 or 4. I'm not quite there yet, because as much respect as I have for him, and I'm willing to say I was wrong on him coming out, he had the best circumstances in the league against the easiest schedule in the league, and he's only done it 1 year. So I'm a believer. I would have paid him, but if we're going to do this or the Sando tiers, he would still be behind Lamar, Rodgers, Herbert for me. But 7, I'm fine with.
Lawrence or Hurts this year right now? Who's better?
Hurts.
I'll go Lawrence.
That's a close one too. And
Yeah.
to be honest, I know some of the shine is off him. They have Dak at 10. I would put Dak, Hurts, and Lawrence in their own tier.
Yeah, they've got Dak behind Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins here at number 9 on the
I can't
list.
buy into that.
Yeah, and I've talked about the Cousins tier, and he might be, I think he's surpassed Carr, and just the consistency for Cousins, you got to appreciate it. And he's passed Carr and Garoppolo on that same tier, but he's still in that tier to me. Is Tua in that tier? Tua comes in at number 11 here, and this is an interesting one because this is sort of like the old Jimmy Garoppolo conversation. Right. It's like the EPA per play, I don't think tells the whole story about the talent of the quarterback. I think the offense and some of the talent around him tells as much of a story about the quarterback. So 2 is a tough one for me because his numbers look better than what I think the player is.
I agree. I don't think he'd be 11 for me. I don't envy them having to rank him, though. It's easy to sit here and criticize someone else's list, but when you put one together, he's going to be on the list. Where do you put him? He's perfect for that system, but I don't think he's perfect for any system. Like if you switched him and Herbert last year, things would have been a lot worse with the Chargers, and they would have been better for Miami. And his durability is a major flag to me.
And you look, so for me, I'm with you. Like Dak would be 9 for me. Then that's where the tier break, and then we'd have this mid-level tier starting with Kirk Cousins. You would have Tua in that tier. There's unknowns of Matthew Stafford in this tier. He could play better than anyone in this tier. He could be done. I have no idea what to expect from Stafford. He's 12 on this list.
I would put Watson right there with Stafford too. Like I have no clue where to put Watson and Stafford.
And Watson's next. He's 13
on
this list. And Watson could be top 5, or he could just be this new place of his career where he's kind of treading water, which is what it's been for a while now with Watson. But I have a sneaking suspicion we're going to have him, back ahead of Dak at this time next year.
Right. Like, to be honest, I'm going to put him ahead of Tua right now. You can say what you want about the person. Watson was not in a great situation to succeed last year. When you think about the massive time off, new team, and all the off the field stuff. I don't even want to call them distractions because they were self-imposed, but it doesn't translate well to playing football at a high level.
So now he's been in the offense, knows the scheme, off-field stuff behind him, unless that pops up again, and full off season with that team to get ready to be the guy from week 1. I think it's much different for him this year, no doubt.
Like if he's sitting here at 13 on their list, if you said over under next year, will he be 13? I'm going under, meaning higher on the list.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'd be shocked if he's 20 next year. Like, wow.
Yes, more likely he's 5 than 20.
Agreed. Exactly.
Then we got Derek Carr at 14, Geno Smith, Jared Goff, which is an interesting group of quarterbacks there.
They're kind of all the same. I think Geno's in that Cousins Carr tier as well.
Yeah, I think he's at the end of it. And again, it's like we still only seen 1 year of it, and a lot of
tailed off at the
being
end.
a backup and being, not good early in his career. So, and and let's see. So they weren't necessarily a juggernaut in the playoffs, and that's an up and coming team, a lot of talent there. But I'm still in wait and see mode on Geno Smith. What exactly is he? Do it again one more year, then I know who you are for sure now at this point in your career. But that last year's still a blip compared to the rest of his career.
Yeah, again, I'm not all in. But I will gladly put him somewhere with Goff, Carr, behind Cousins, but caretakers that are fine.
Yeah. And definitely ahead of Daniel Jones, who's 17 on this list. And I think I'm way
Yeah.
lower than Daniel Jones than a lot of people. And here's I think where it starts to get. But look, Daniel Jones kind of with Tannehill, Russell Wilson, Mac Jones. That's fine for me. But it's at 18 on this list is Justin Fields. I expect a big jump from him again as a passer. We know what he can do as a runner in the NFL. There's so much more talent for him at the receiver position. Just being the same guy, it'll be better. But if he gets a little better and everyone else got a lot better around him, I mean, look out for Justin Fields. If I was betting, I would be buying the stock on Justin Fields that there's no chance he'll be talked about in a Daniel Jones tier this time next year.
I agree. I was going to say the same thing. If he's, you think he'll be worse or better than 18 a year from now? I'm going to say better. I mean, I think he'll be 12.
I think he'll be at worst in the Cousins tier, and we might be talking about him more like we're talking about Jalen Hurts right now. And
that would be the home run, right?
The team success is not going to be there like it was for Hurts, so that it makes it a little bit more difficult. But it'll be like, oh, this guy's going to be a problem for a long time.
And
he's more physically talented than Hurts. He's faster, better arm. We'll see what kind of leader he is. We'll see if he's able to, be efficient, which is huge. And that's what we saw with Jalen Hurts' growth going into year 3 with more talent around him, right? Which is exactly the scenario for Justin Fields.
I mean, this is pie in the sky, but could he be next year's Lawrence? That boy, he had 2 really rough situations. Now we know he's the man, face of the franchise. I mean, that's possible.
I mean, he's the second fastest quarterback in the league after Lamar Jackson. Ran a 4.4 flat. He was faster than Anthony Richardson. By the way, Anthony Richardson's an interesting one next. And he can make elite level throws. You would think that the things he can get better at are the easiest things that you can coach and teach. Like, can he get the ball out a little quicker? Second year in an offense, right? Better receivers around him. Can he hit that short to intermediate stuff? Just get the ball out, quick read on your third step, right? And so maybe he just won't ever be able to do that, and it'll look. But even then, like,
he's still hard to play against.
Young Russell Wilson wasn't really that either, and that was my comp for Justin Fields coming out was Russell Wilson. And so I think there's Russell Wilson with more physical ability potentially is what Justin Fields can be, and that's with him not being the most efficient guy in the world.
I'm buying on Fields. It's funny you brought up Wilson though, because he's 20 on this list. And this is a big thumbs up to Sean Payton. I bet Wilson's closer to 10 than he is 20 next year. I might be totally wrong. He might be done because he was awful last year. That's just kind of a hunch. I think that marriage is going to go well.
It'd be hard for me to believe that he's just like done and off this list.
Yeah.
Like it may be in the teens, maybe not. Maybe he's not that top 10 guy anymore ever. With Peyton, a little better. Yeah. But again,
I don't think he's going to be like Matt Ryan last year or end of career Ben or Matt Ryan. I don't think that's what he is next year. I mean, I think he's a legit starter.
Like Fields, Wilson. We've talked about Watson. A lot of guys going up. Who's going to come down to make room for those guys too? So it's not that easy to climb up 10 spots.
You're right. Certainly guys that could come down or Stafford. I mean, he could fall off the cliff. Geno. Your boy Daniel Jones could go down. Tannehill.
Rodgers
could. Right.
How about this one? Interesting. The respective teams we cover, Matt, Steelers and San Francisco 49ers at 22 and 23. Your guys got my guy, Kenny Pickett, 22, Brock Purdy, 23.
I would even lump Mac Jones at 21 there. That I can see those three all being next to each other.
I would put Mac Jones at 23 and Pickett and Purdy at 21
too.
and 22, if that's me. But I mean, we're picking nits here.
We are picketing nits. I would not trade Pickett straight up for Mac Jones.
I would, and I wouldn't trade Purdy for Mac Jones. And here's the thing: we probably are, but here's the thing: in the blurb here for Brock Purdy, and this is important. Patrick Mahomes in a tier by himself, number 1. Guess who had better yards per attempt and better touchdown to interception ratio in the games that they played? Brock Purdy. 8.3 yards per attempt, better than everybody, including Patrick Mahomes last year.
That doesn't shock me at all.
Tua's up there, though, too. Tua's up there, too, and guess who coordinates those offenses for Purdy and Tua?
That's what I was going to say. Like, if you look at EPA over the last 3 years amongst quarterbacks, I think Mahomes 1, Allen 2, Jimmy's 3, Purdy's 4, Tua's 5. Like something like that.
It's exactly. Speaking of,
Shanahan is 2. Right.
Jimmy's next, 24 on the list.
Jimmy or Tannehill?
It kind of depends on the offense, but at this point, I would take Garoppolo.
Yeah, I think they're too far apart.
Yeah, and Tannehill's at
19
19, and like this is a tough tier, I think, to break up. But if if I knew that Purdy was healthy, I would for sure take Purdy over Tannehill. I would take Kenny Pickett over Tannehill. And Tannehill might be better today, right now, but just by week 18, who's better? Give me Purdy, give me Pickett, and healthy Jimmy G over Tannehill.
Yeah, me too. I think Tannehill might be a year away from the Flacco role, where he's just tutoring a young guy type of deal. Maybe that's even what we see in December with Levis.
So bottom of the list, a lot of unknowns, a lot of quarterbacks.
I would ignore the bottom of the list.
Rookies.
We don't know anything about these guys.
The Cardinals, Kyler Murray's not starting the season, so they got Colt McCoy in there for the Cardinals. But what's interesting is Desmond Ridder behind Colt McCoy. The bottom three going 32 up is Anthony Richardson, dead last, 32. Desmond Ridder, 31. C.J. Stroud, 30. Then it's McCoy. Then it's Baker Mayfield. Then Sam Howell. Then Jordan Love. Then Bryce Young. Do you think Bryce Young at 25 deserves to be, 8 spots higher than the guy drafted 3 picks later in Anthony Richardson?
No, but I don't know how I would rank all those guys you just mentioned. I do know that I would put McCoy last because, if you're going to put Stroud and Richardson behind McCoy, and I mentioned him because we know exactly what he is, how are you putting Howell, Love, and Young above him? You know what I mean?
I'm for sure.
Yeah.
If I have McCoy and Ridder and I'm trying to win a football game, I'm still starting Ridder over McCoy today.
He's 32 for me.
McCoy, yeah. I think that's the way to go. And look,
who do you want to play against on this list? Colt McCoy.
By the way, did you see Baker Mayfield in OTAs just airmailing a 10-yard throw?
Did he really?
They were just throwing like this little, 75% speed T-shirt and shorts when everything's supposed to look amazing to a tight end. He airmailed him by like 5 feet over his head. It did not look good.
I don't want to quite put Baker with McCoy, but if the question is who do you most want to play against on this list, I think McCoy is clearly number 1 and Baker's probably 2.
And then, I would rather play against, even though he's gone through a rookie season, I'd rather play against Howell than Anthony Richardson.
Right. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Richardson wouldn't be 32, but
and the reasoning for Richardson I get is because he didn't, his body of work wasn't great. He's only played 1 year in college. It might take some time for him, and he wasn't really even that great in college or consistent at all. Mm-hmm. So I buy the argument. I understand why he's 32 on the list, but
he may not even start
running around. I'm still, even if he's not as efficient as Sam Howell, just his ability to run around and hurt me with some deep throws, I'd still rather play against Howell.
Yeah, me too. Part of it's just because the unknown. I haven't seen him fall on his face yet. And I'm not saying he will even. Last question I have for you. If Kyler were on this list, I'm looking at like Tua at 11. Is that the neighborhood we're talking? I'm not putting him ahead of Dak. I'm not putting him ahead of Lawrence or Hurts. I think Cousins is too high on this list, but I think Kyler versus Tua is a conversation.
Tua, Kyler,
one of them really benefits from a good system, and one really is the total opposite.
Right. Watson, Stafford, definitely in that range. Yeah. I would have him before Carr at 14 for sure.
Yeah.
The question would be, does he go before Watson, Stafford, and Tua as well? But he'd definitely be behind Dak.
That's that neighborhood. Yeah. Okay. We're on the same page with that then.
But Jordan Love, what do you expect from him? He comes in at number 26 on this list. He's actually behind Bryce Young. I would rather play against Bryce Young than Jordan Love right now. So I think a little disrespect for Jordan Love.
No doubt. If I was a Jordan Love supporter, which I'm not quite sure I am or not, I would say my guy should be ahead of Mac, Kenny, and Brock. See, I don't believe that. I'm just saying that. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
There's other factors with the offense and stuff, but
right.
I'm not. I'd probably be like, man, a lot of young weapons. This Packers offense could be scary if Jordan Love is good and he's got this talent. I'd rather play against Garoppolo's Raiders than Jordan Love's Packers.
But just isolating the quarterback, would you rather play against Mac Jones or Jordan Love?
Mac Jones.
Yeah, right. I think I would too. I mean, I know what he's going to do, and he might pick me apart, but he's not going to create a lot.
Fascinating list because there's so much upside. There's so much unknown right now in the NFL, and so many Hall of Fame and just really good quarterbacks. Matt Ryan's not there anymore. Have aged out of these types of lists, and so many young quarterbacks entered the league recently, and even those guys from like 2021, we still don't know all about. So it's the quarterback position in the NFL. I think we're going to learn a lot this year. And I think last year it seemed like the league was stacked with quarterbacks. It's like, man, can't even find homes. There's too many. There's more than 32 starters for the first time in history. And then after these seasons, like, nope, that wasn't the case. A lot of teams need quarterbacks still. And so an infusion of first round quarterbacks and then some other young quarterbacks developing. And I can't wait to see how it all turns out with this 2023 season, especially with these quarterbacks. It's a huge storyline going into the year.
No doubt. Last thing I have is, when we've talked about this a lot too, was there was almost an entire generation of highly drafted quarterbacks that didn't hit. Like, shouldn't Wentz or Mariota or Winston or one of those type of dudes that was drafted in the top 5 be in his prime right now? Right. And I always come back to like Andrew Luck would be that guy. Yeah.
So Mahomes was the 2017. Mahomes and Watson, that was 2017. Yeah. So Goff was 2016, Goff and Wentz. So Goff is like the only guy that's starting games to show for the drafts between 2011 and 2016, right?
Basically, yeah. I mean, there's just such a weak area there.
Because Luck is gone. Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson was 2012.
Yeah, but I mean,
and you still have a guy that was drafted in 2005. Is in the top 10,
Yeah. I mean, the first round picks in 16 were Goff, Wentz, Paxton Lynch. The year before was Winston and Mariota. Bortles, Manziel, Bridgewater. You're right. I mean, 2014 was Bortles, Manziel, and Bridgewater.
And
2013 was worse.
Yeah. So basically there's two quarterbacks between. So 2011 was
Luck, right?
And Andy Dalton. Luck is gone. So there's Russell Wilson and Goff.
Yeah.
And Geno.
Yeah, I guess Geno at least got back on the list for that generation.
What year was Tannehill?
He is the Luck year. He was also a first rounder with Luck, RG3, Tannehill, Whedon.
Okay, so 2012. So yeah, so basically between 2013, 2016, there's one guy. It's Goff. And 2012 has a couple again.
The Luck retirement really hurts that conversation. But boy, the 5 drafts after Luck are awful.
Really bad.
Manziel.
Well, that was one of the easiest ones ever to see. Like, I think of Manziel, Tim Tebow, because he couldn't throw. He wasn't an NFL thrower. Like,
he can't throw, right.
He's a 3rd round tight end. He's not a 1st round quarterback, even if you love him. And I think Brandon Whedon was another one. Like, those were the 3 easiest. Like, are you kidding me that you're going to
can't sell me on that guy? Yeah.
Brandon Whedon was 30 years old, and like as a rookie. Are you serious right now? What are we doing? So yeah, anyway. In exact science as it pertains to quarterbacks, Matt, and even the veterans we don't know anything about. It seems like year to year. So we will find out in 2023. Thanks everybody for making Peacock and Williamson your first listen right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Become an everydayer, YouTube, and everywhere you get your podcasts.